Okay, it is the college football playoffs. We've been waiting all year long and really for the last 10 years for an expanded college football playoffs, and we finally have it. The first round of the 2024 college football playoffs start on Friday, and we're going to be predicting every single college football playoff game, obviously here on the channel, plus all of the bowl games throughout the week as well. So if you haven't seen our schedule yet for the college football bowl season, here it is. So today, of course, is December 17th. We will have the college football playoff round 1 predictions plus every other bowl game up until next Tuesday. Then on the 24th, again a week from today on Christmas Eve, we will have our college football playoffs round 2 predictions plus our week 3 of college bowl predictions as well. And the same thing follows again for the third round of the college football playoffs on the 2nd of January plus the bowl games. And then, of course, January 7th, we will have our championship game predictions. So stay on the lookout for all of that. But of course, today we get our college football playoffs round 1 predictions. And again, if you haven't yet, make sure to go check out our college basketball best bets. Those are daily on the channel, along with our NBA predictions, which are daily on the channel as well. All right, let's get into the first college football playoff game. And, we're going to start with the college football playoff games, and then we are going to go to the bowl games. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more weekly college football picks here on the channel. It just really helps if you do hit that subscribe button down below. Let's go to our first game, and we're doing it. The Indiana Hoosiers are going to prove why they are the best team in the state of Indiana, because they are going to go to South Bend, and they are going to beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Okay? It's happening. I have been hyping it up all season long. I've been hyping up the Hoosiers all year long, and this is what it all comes down to. Sure, there's the next round, obviously, where they, might go to Athens and beat the Georgia Bulldogs, but you gotta take care of this one first, and that's exactly what the Hoosiers are going to do. They are walking into South Bend, and they are beating Notre Dame. Indiana's only loss all season is at the shoe to Ohio State. They don't lose to bad teams like the Northern Illinois Huskies. And yes, we will actually get to NIU later in the video. They are the final game of the day in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And real quick, also, if you're looking for a pick for today's video, that was in last week's video. But if you're looking for a pick in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, we did take Memphis on the spread, and we took them on the money line as well. If you want to see the full breakdown for that, again, go into last week's video. The Army-Navy game was on that video as well. Okay, we're taking Indiana. Indiana doesn't lose to bad teams like Notre Dame does. And I don't care the game's in South Bend. Okay, yeah, it's like $700 to get in the building. Trust me, I thought about going. I can't spend that much money to get all the way to Chicago and then, drive to South Bend. It's not worth it. This is all going to come down to Indiana's ability to stop the run. I get it. Notre Dame's defense hasn't been bad. They've been pretty good. But, guys, the best team they've played all season is USC. Before the Army-Navy game, I would say it was Army, but Army's coming off that loss to Navy now. I think the best team they've played all season is the USC Trojans. Yeah, the 6-6 USC Trojans. Oh, they beat Louisville, I guess. But honestly, I think maybe you'd take USC in a game over Louisville right now. Maybe. I don't know. Wait, what bowl game is USC even in? I don't even know. But again, that goes to show, that's Notre Dame, I think's best victory. They had to go on the road and beat USC compared to a home win against Louisville. Regardless, it doesn't matter. They're playing A&M, are the Trojans in the Las Vegas Bowl. Nice. But no, I think Indiana's the better team. Guys, Notre Dame can't throw the football. And it's going to be, again, it's going to be Jeremiah Love in the run game. It's going to be Jadarian Price, who's really come on late in the season as well. But for Indiana, I feel perfectly fine with this team going on the road and winning. They've lost 1 game all year long, and that's to Ohio State. They bounced back perfectly in the battle of the old Oaken Bucket in Bloomington against Purdue. They won the game 66-0. And I get it. The Boilermakers were absolutely horrible this season. I completely understand. But still, this team should be fine. They played a miserable game against Ohio State because of the special teams. I mean, don't forget, Indiana was up at the end of the first quarter in that game. They drive down the field in their first drive, score a touchdown. They stop Ohio State in the red zone. They make them turn the ball over on downs, and then it just kind of started to collapse for the Hoosiers. Curtis Rourke played by far his worst game of the season. I mean, this is a guy, again, who finished 8th in the Heisman voting this season, the former Ohio Bobcat from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, if I'm not mistaken. I love this Indiana squad, man. Curtis Rourke, again, he had 1 bad game all year against Ohio State. I get it. They have to go on the road to play the Irish. I think that's fine. I really think they can beat this Notre Dame team. We want to talk about how great Notre Dame's defense has been all season. That's great, but look what they did last week or 2 weeks ago when they played the USC Trojans. They gave up 35 points to Jaden Maivia and that Trojans team. Again, SC's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, But Indiana, is going to be better than what USC has to offer. Okay, that's all I have to say about the Hoosiers compared to the USC Trojans. I like what they can do. The Hoosiers can do in the passing game. Obviously, Rourke, Elijah Sarrett, who's by far their best receiver. You got Omar Cooper. You get Miles Price. And in the run game, you got Juice Ellison. You got Tyson Lawton as well. I mean, these are good backs for the Indiana Hoosiers, and they should be able to grind out a victory here against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I've been saying it all year long. I just don't think Notre Dame is that good. I really don't think they are. They've got a good run game, okay, with Jeremiah Love. Their defense plays all right, but I just don't think Notre Dame's that good of a football team. And simply put, I just think Indiana's the better football team. I think the Indiana has the better quarterback, Curtis Rourke. Defensively wise, I know Notre Dame's got a good defense, but I think Indiana, again, they're primarily going to just have to stop the run, and I think they will find a way to contain Jeremiah Love and this rushing attack from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and I just think Indiana's going to be able to score more points. And I think the Hoosiers win this football game with Curtis Rourke leading the helm, with Curt Cignetti, obviously. Indiana's going to have a big portal in the offseason. I think Fernando Mendoza, the Cal Bears quarterback, I think he'll probably be the next guy here at Indiana. We'll see. I know, again, the Hoosiers are in his Final Four, but we look again at this one season. I think the Hoosiers do move on to the second round. I like what they've got going in terms of the passing game. I think the defense is able to hold this, I think, fairly one-dimensional Notre Dame offense. Again, I know Riley Leonard can pull and run himself, but really I don't think the passing game out of Notre Dame can beat Indiana. It is strictly on the ground. I think the Hoosiers clean up some of the mistakes they saw a month ago against the Buckeyes in Ohio State, and I think the Indiana Hoosiers move on to the second round of the college football playoffs, taking down the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in South Bend, Indiana. Let's move on to our next game. And yeah, we're taking them to cover the 7 points, obviously. But yes, moneyline 2 plus 230. Bank on it. Let's go Hoosiers. All right, next up we go to Penn State. And yes, we are taking the SMU Mustangs to go on the road and beat Penn State. I know. We're taking back-to-back underdog picks, back-to-back dogs on the road, and we like Southern Methodist to catch Penn State. It's a whiteout game, I get it, but there's weird circumstances around this one. It's at noon. Like, it's just, it's not, this game is not going to feel like a playoff game. It just isn't. It's a whiteout game, but it's, early in the day. Like, Texas's game against Clemson is going to be at 3 o'clock in Austin. That will feel like a playoff game. Obviously, Notre Dame, Indiana is going to be at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I believe, in Notre Dame. And then the Ohio State game's obviously at 8 o'clock at night in Columbus. This is the one game that I don't think is going to really feel like a playoff game. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I think SMU is able to catch Penn State here. I've been saying it all season long. I don't think Penn State's that good. I'm not sold on Drew Aller. I'm not sold on anything this team does. I get it. Their running game is good with Singleton, with Katron Allen, who had a big game in the Big Ten championship game. And I get it. They played very competitive football against the Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten championship game. And Tyler Warren, again, might be, one of the better tight ends in college football. He's certainly not number one. That's Harold Fannin. And Harold Fannin got absolutely robbed of winning the best tight end of the year award. And same can be said about the Biletnikoff, where Nick Nash, who literally won the Triple Crown for being a wide receiver, didn't win it over Travis Hunter. I like having Travis Hunter. I think he's obviously the Heisman. I get the Genty debate, but I thought Travis Hunter should have won the Heisman, and he did, obviously. The Nick Nash and Harold Fannin snubs were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, watch G5 football. Those guys are the best in their position this year in college football. But Tyler Warren is a great tight end for Penn State, cracked 1,000 yards a season. Drew Aller obviously is a serviceable quarterback. I don't think he's a game changer. And I think SMU's offense is where they're going to win this football game, obviously. I would anticipate this to be a high-scoring affair. I mean, we saw Penn State's offense kind of break through in that Oregon game. Obviously, they lost it, but they were able to score 37 points. It might have been, I think it was their second highest-scoring game all season. Other than the Kent State game, we don't count the game against the Golden Flashes, who went 0-12. Other than the Minnesota game, where they beat Purdue 49-10. But it was still one of Penn State's best offensive showings. And they're probably going to do the same thing against SMU, but I just think SMU is going to be able to keep up. Again, I think SMU's got one of the best offenses in all of college football. They ran into a Clemson team in the ACC championship game. They lost it, But now, again, it's a playoff game. I know SMU is coming off a loss, but I really like Kevin Jennings. I think Kevin Jennings is a guy in a couple of years that's going to be regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Maybe next year, Kevin Jennings is going to be regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I like SMU to win the ACC next year, and I think they're going to be a powerhouse in the Atlantic Coast Conference for a very long time, and a lot of that has to do with Kevin Jennings, who obviously took over the starting job got the starting job over Preston Stone, who is hitting the portal, and I don't completely remember where Preston Stone's going. But I like the run game with Brashard Smith. He's been phenomenal this season, 1,300 rushing yards. And Kevin Jennings he is a monster, man. I mean, this guy is so elusive. He's able to scramble. He's able to make plays in the run. Jennings is a game changer for the Southern Methodist Mustangs. I get it. The SMU defense isn't all that great, obviously. I mean, they've looked good in spots, right? They looked great in the Pitt game earlier this season where you had, again, the undefeated ACC SMU Mustangs, the undefeated Pitt Panthers, and SMU, blew them out the water because of that defensive effort and because, of course, the offense was able to take advantage. Their only losses all year are a game against BYU where they lost by 3 points. It was the worst offensive production game that SMU's played all season. And the Clemson game where they tied it up at the very end, they made that comeback, and then, of course, Clemson just kicked the field goal at the end of the game from, 55 yards out to win it. I think it's fine. I really think, again, I think SMU's going to be okay. I think they are going to be able to outscore Penn State in this one. And I'm taking back-to-back road teams here in the college football playoffs. We are taking the Southern Methodist Mustangs to go on the road to University Park and beat Penn State. I don't care. It's a whiteout. Guys, it's $50 to get into this game. This is not that, this is not going to be that crazy of an atmosphere. I get it. Playing at Penn State is going to be rough, but it's not a night game. It's a noon start. I think SMU is able to catch him here. And something that we also have to talk about too. Guys, these games are being played in late December, right before Christmas. The amount of college kids that are actually going to be there, it's not going to be that high, obviously. I mean, the student section, how big of a factor is that really going to be? A lot of the students are back home for Christmas. I'm just saying, I don't think the home field advantage, at least for this game, especially with it being at noon, is that big of a deal. And I think SMU's just got the higher powered offense, and I'm taking the Mustangs to go on the road, win this playoff game, and move on to the second round where they will take on, who is there? They would be Boise, right? I think. Yes, it would be, we'd have Boise State versus SMU in the second round. Give me the Mustangs and Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith to walk into Pennsylvania and beat the Penn State Nittany Lions. Let's move on to our third postseason game. We go to Austin, Texas. We've got the Clemson Tigers taking on the Texas Longhorns. I'm taking Texas to win the football game, but I'm taking Clemson to cover the points. 11.5. That line, since I've made this graphic 3 hours ago, has moved to plus 12. So we get another half point for the Clemson Tigers in this game. I'm fine with it. I don't think Texas blows this team out. I think they win it. I think Quinn Ewers holds them back. I think he does. I know Ewers threw for 358 yards in that Georgia game, but there's a lot of just missed opportunities for Texas in that game because of Quinn Ewers. And I get it. They were not able to run the football in that SEC championship game, right, with Wisner, and, Jaden Blue, basically doesn't even have a role anymore on this Texas team. I do think Ewers is the second best quarterback on this team. I'll just say it. I think Ewers is either going to be at one of these three schools next year. I don't think he should go to the NFL because I don't think he will have a spot. I think he'll be a third, fourth round pick next year. I think, again, since Ewers has another year of eligibility, he should either go to Oregon, where he could win, Michigan, that's probably the worst spot, or North Carolina with Bill Belichick. He should go to Oregon. He should follow the Bo Nix. He should follow the Dylan Gabriel route. I don't know where that puts his draft stock, but if Quinn Ewers wants to win and become a name, an even bigger name, go to Oregon, who is the best team in all of college football, and go win the Big Ten next season. Because he's not starting next year. This is Arch Manning's team next year. I mean, Manning did not wait for 2 years to not start in his third. If they somehow say, Ewers is going to start next year, Arch Manning's going to North Carolina. I think this is Arch Manning's team next season. With that being said, Quinn Ewers could be looking at his final game as a member of the Texas Longhorns. I don't think it's this game, though, even though, yes, I think Ewers does hold them back. I get it. He's dealing with those mobility issues because of the injury. I 100% get that. But I do think, again, this team lacks because of Ewers. Now, Clemson, I think they are the worst team in the playoff, and to be honest with you guys. I get it. They beat SMU, and I just hyped up SMU for all that time. I get it. They just came off that loss to South Carolina. They've lost to Louisville at home this season. They got blown out by Georgia. I get it. The Georgia game's somewhat of an outlier. They have not looked that bad. Well, they did look bad in the Louisville game, but they looked horrible in that first game of the opener against Georgia. Klubnik's been playing great football. They really are not able to run the ball right now. They weren't able to against SMU with Maffa, so it was really just a passing attack, getting the ball to guys like Antonio Williams for Cade Klubnik. Klubnik, again, who is really an underrated quarterback. I think he gets overlooked, and we're talking about the elite quarterbacks in college football. Klubnik is, what, a junior? Is he a sophomore? He's a junior. So Klubnik will be back for his senior year next year. I'd assume, again, he'll be a top 10, top 5 quarterback in college football next season for Clemson. I think SMU is still better, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next year. We'll be back, of course, for our predictions throughout the year next year, and we can, look at the teams as we go on next season. But I do think Clemson's able to keep this game close. I think Texas wins, but I do think Quinn Ewers is the reason why this game is not a blowout. Look at Texas's last game in the regular season, right? They beat A&M by 10 points. It's not an impressive win. I get it. They had to go to Kyle Field. They had to go to, College Station to win that football game. But it wasn't all that impressive. This Texas team hasn't really looked really good since the Florida win. I know, they beat Arkansas and Fayetteville. They beat Kentucky. They beat Texas A&M, but they lose to Georgia in overtime. This team just hasn't looked great. And I think, again, Texas has too much talent not to win this football game, especially when you compare this Texas team to whatever Clemson has right now. Don't get me wrong. Clemson's a good team. Obviously, they are the ACC champions. They're not on the level of Texas, but I do think, again, Clemson is able to keep this game within the 12 points. I'm taking Texas to win, but I do think Ewers holds them back a little bit. We'll see in what condition their run game is. Obviously, Wisner had huge games against Kentucky and A&M, but in that game against Georgia, again, 50 yards, that's not going to cut it. They need more production out of their run game if they are going to win, or if they are going to beat Clemson. I think they will do it. But plus 12 just feels like a lot. Give me the Clemson Tigers to go on the road and cover the spread, but I do think Texas straight up wins the football game, moving them on to the second round where they will take on, that means they have the 2 seed, right? No, they'll be playing Arizona State. Wait, yes, no. I just need to look at a bracket right now. We're going to look at a bracket real quick. I believe, because Arizona State's the 4, is it? Yes, because it's the 5-12, yes. So yeah, Texas will move on to Arizona State. Obviously, yes, Penn State, SMU. We think SMU is going to play Boise. We think Indiana is going to play Georgia. And now let's find out who has to play the Oregon Ducks. It will be the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. This is messed up. This is messed up for Oregon, obviously, because they should have the easiest path to the second round. To the third round. I think the way this should go, I'll be honest with you, and maybe they revise this for next year, I think Oregon should get to choose who they want to play. I know that's, again, a little zany, but think about it, though. I mean, shouldn't that, or either that or you reseed the entire bracket, and you automatically give Oregon the lowest seed. So right now, well, actually, no, the way we have it, regardless of who wins this Tennessee-Ohio State game, it would be SMU because they're the 11th seed. And then, the second lowest team remaining, obviously Indiana, would still play the number 2 seed. That's Georgia. And then, of course, Texas would take on ASU, because that's the 4-5. Yes, that makes sense. And then Boise would play the winner of Tennessee-Ohio State. I think that's if you just reseed it so that the lowest seed plays the highest seed, I think that works. You could also just let Oregon pick the team they want to play. I know it's a little wacky. That feels a little, NBA All-Star Game weirdness, but I think that could work too. But I think the easiest solution is just reseed the entire bracket, right? Regardless, we have got Oregon's, opponents here, future opponents, either Ohio State or Tennessee. I think Ohio State wins the game, and I think they win it fairly easily. I get it. The last time we saw Ohio State was when they lost to Michigan for, the third straight season? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I mean, Ryan Day, his job is still on the line. If they don't win it, if they don't go to the national championship game, he's gone. He's playing for his contract. He's playing for his job right now. But like Penn State, I'll be honest with you guys, Tennessee's a team all year long, and I love Rocky Top, like the song. I love the environment in Knoxville. I just don't think Tennessee's that good. I don't think Nico's all that great. I know their run game is absolutely killer. Dylan Sampson's one of the best running backs in college football, 1,500 yards in the regular season. But other than Dylan Sampson, and the defense for Tennessee isn't bad, but it's a whole other animal when you got to deal with the Buckeyes, I think Ohio State's the better football team. And I don't really think this game's all that close. In the shoe, for as badly as we want to talk about Ohio State losing at home to Michigan, the last time, again, they played a ranked team at home, they blew out Indiana. They beat Penn State on the road by 7 points. They only lost to Oregon and Eugene by 1 point. There's just something about the Wolverines that the Buckeyes just can't get by. There's something about Michigan, man. That's it. They will blow out Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee's on their level at all. I just don't think so, right? The Volunteers lost by 14 points on the road at Athens this year. They lost on the road at Arkansas. When they have had to go to tough road environments, they have lost, and they have to now go to the shoe. Guys, this is a Tennessee team that only played 4 games on the road this year. Oklahoma, they barely win by 10 points. Nico looked horrible. Samson had his worst game on the ground all year. They got by 25-15 against a horrible Oklahoma Sooners team. Arkansas, they go on the road to Fayetteville, they lose the game by 5 points. They go on the road to Georgia, they lose by 14 points. And when they went on the road to Nashville to Vandy, they only won the game by 13. I get it, Vandy's not horrible. They beat Bama this season. Obviously, Diego Pavia is great, but they only beat Vandy by 13 points. Again, this is a playoff team in the Tennessee Volunteers. I get it, their defense is amazing. It really is. But how much can their defense really carry them in a game against the Ohio State Buckeyes? Trust me, I think when Ohio State plays Oregon, I think they get killed. I don't know if they get killed, but I definitely think Oregon wins the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. But I think in this game, Ohio State's definitely the better team. Obviously, the two-headed monster at running back with Quinshawn Judkins, with Travion Henderson. Will Howard, obviously, their starting quarterback. I don't think Howard's that great. I think he's serviceable. I don't think he's a game changer, obviously, for Ohio State. I think that's, pretty much a lot of people think that. But I will take the Buckeyes to beat Tennessee. They're getting 7 points on the line. I think that's a fairly easy read. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I think out of all the games that we see this weekend, in the playoffs, obviously, the only blowout is this one. I really think Ohio State just manhandles Tennessee. It's a very late start, 8 p.m. start for the Buckeyes in Columbus, and I think they run straight through the Tennessee Volunteers. I get it, Tennessee's defense has held them in games all season long. I think Ohio State, if there's ever going to be a team that's going to, again, put up points against Tennessee, it's going to be Ohio State. And I just don't think the Volunteers offense is going to be able to keep up. Guys, once Tennessee falls behind in games, they are in trouble. Obviously, again, if they are down big, you can't really set up the run all game long with Dylan Sampson. When Ohio State, again, takes a huge lead early, I think Tennessee's going to kind of fizzle. I think Ohio State goes up 14-0 in the first quarter, and I don't think the game's competitive after. Again, you also have to realize Ohio State's going to be more than fired up after the last time they stepped on the field, where Michigan planted their flag on the Ohio State logo. Come on. Ohio State's going to be pumped up to win this football game, and I think they're going to blow out the Tennessee Volunteers. Give me Ohio State to win at home against Tennessee. Let's move on now to the bowl game. So the college football playoff predictions are done. We'll be back with more again next week. But let's go on to our bowl game. So this game is, I believe, it's tomorrow. Yes. We've got the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers taking on the James Madison Dukes. Now, I've been on Western Kentucky all season long. I mean, if you've been watching, you know that we've been high on Caden Vetkamp. I know WKU looked horrible in this USA Championship game. They got blown out against Jacksonville State. Vetkamp played his worst game of the season. I completely understand that. Now they get a bowl game, and we are going to fade them. Not really because, of that last game they played. I think if everyone was active for Western Kentucky in this football game, I probably would be taking them here against Jackson State. I'm tripping. James Madison. I don't know why I have Jacksonville State. Just because, again, JMU's been really weird this season. They've had games where they have looked great, and then, when they've gone on the road this season, they've lost big. They lost to Georgia Southern by 14 points. They lost to App State by 14 points. They lost to Marshall in their last game of the season to, again, go on. The winner was going to go to the Sun Belt. No, actually, JMU was way out. They were trying to get Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt Championship game. They lost the game by 2 points to Marshall. And by the way, what happened to Marshall is ridiculous, man. They lose their entire team. Can't even play in the Independence Bowl against Army. So instead, all their guys go to Southern Miss. And now we got to watch La Tech football again this year play Army as a 5-7 team. It's ridiculous. But yes, the 1-11 Southern Miss Golden Eagles have gotten basically everyone from Marshall. And they're in the same conference. It's ridiculous. So the Thundering Herd are just kind of screwed for next season. Taking JMU to cover the 7 points, though, against Western Kentucky. Why? Western Kentucky does not have Caden Vetkamp anymore. Vetkamp's not playing. He is in the transfer portal already. And you're thinking, oh, wait, they're backup. TJ Finley, the guy obviously from Texas State last season. He played at Auburn once upon a time. He's their backup. They'll be fine. No, TJ Finley's already committed to Tulane. I think that's a great move. I really think it is. I think TJ Finley's going to be more than serviceable for Tulane, who obviously, we're going to talk about them in a minute. They don't have their starting quarterback this week in their bowl game either. But TJ Finley, who's 6'7", 240, yeah, he is like, he's, I kind of want to make the comp to Anthony Richardson, not entirely though. You'll see. I think Finley's going to be really good for Tulane. I think he will. I was kind of anticipating him to start the season. Obviously, he got to play week 1 against Alabama. Then they sat him down for Velt Camp, and Velt Camp was better. Obviously, though, both those guys aren't playing this week. So Western Kentucky's on a third-string quarterback. They're taking on JMU, who really didn't lose as much in the transfer portal. They did lose some guys. But to my knowledge, all of JMU's top players, Alonzo Barnett's going to be playing. I believe Petaway is going to be playing as well. JMU, for the most part, still going to be at full strength. I think Western Kentucky's obviously going to struggle without Velt Camp in the lineup. I believe Elijah Young is still playing, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's hopped in the portal yet. Their backup running back, LT Sanders, is in the portal. But yeah, I'm looking at the transfer portal right now. They're missing some secondary guys. They're missing some defensive guys. Okay, Darius Thomas already committed to Louisville. One of their tackles committed to Kentucky. One of their D linemen went to Indiana. Yeah, this team's losing a lot of starters. I mean, that's honestly, and this is what sucks about these games, because the bowl games, again, what the purpose of bowl games are supposed to be, they're postseason games that teams get to play at the end of the season. The school gets a bunch of money if they go to a bowl game. It's supposed to be an experience for the players. And, the way that, the bowl games are meant to be, we should be predicting these games based on what we have seen out of Western Kentucky and James Madison, throughout the season. And for teams that don't have many transfers, I mean, JMU still has guys leaving. But the way that we're supposed to be looking at these games, again, look at their past history this season, but the way that we kind of have to do things now, we kind of have to look at, all right, who are they losing in the portal? How is this really going to affect their team? For Western Kentucky, I love the Hilltoppers, but they have lost 3 out of 4 games at the same time. Again, losing to La Tech, who's horrible, losing to Liberty on the road. They beat Jack State to make the CUSA championship game in a game that Tyler Huff got injured in. And then, of course, when Tyler Huff plays, Jack State wins the game 52-12. Yeah, we were wrong about that one. I know. And on top of that, again, Western Kentucky is going to be on a third-string quarterback at best, taking on James Madison. I think JMU should be able to boat race him in this game. This game is the Boca Raton Bowl in FAU, or at FAU, in the Florida Atlantic area. I believe it's at their stadium, if I'm not mistaken. And we've seen James Madison put up a lot of points on teams this season, right? I know, again, they've lost back-to-back games. The Marshall game was in double overtime, though. I mean, this team with Petaway, they're able to get the run game going. Alonzo Barnett's not horrible as well, right? I mean, they beat North Carolina this year at Chapel Hill, 70-50. This team's able to score at will. I think JMU should be able to get Western Kentucky out of here. Give me James Madison to win the football game, and we are taking them to cover the 7 points as well. Next up, we go to the Los Angeles Bowl. I don't know if it's still the Rob Gronkowski Los Angeles Bowl. No, sorry, it's the Art of Sport Los Angeles Bowl. Nice. We've got the California Golden Bears taking on the University of Las Vegas, the UNLV Rebels. The big, talking point I'll say going into this game is Fernando Mendoza's not playing. Mendoza's already hit the portal. He's gone, and Cal's already lost some guys. They lose one of their linemen to Houston. Tyson Ford is a guy coming from Notre Dame into Cal. Obviously, again, that's not the biggest move, but because obviously if you're transferring out of Notre Dame during the playoffs, you're not obviously, a big piece of that squad. But obviously, Fernando Mendoza is by far the biggest loss for Cal going into this football game, right? No Fernando Mendoza really makes it tough on this football team. They lose their leading receiver as well. Hunter is gone. Cal's screwed in this game, guys. Even if Cal is at full strength, I probably would take UNLV if I'm being honest with you. I know UNLV's been a good team this season, even without, again, with Matthew Sluka leaving. I mean, I'll say they've been better with Hodge Malik Williams than they were with Sluka. I don't know where the former Holy Cross quarterback in Sluka will land for next season. UNLV lost a lot of their running backs in the portal, but I don't think Thomas is not in the portal, though, right? Yeah, their starter's not in the portal, so it's fine. They lost Jaden Glover is transferring in from Utah, but they lost Michael Allen, to Marshall, a spot where he might start, honestly, since Marshall lost all their guys. They lost Tony Grimes as well, who's one of their corners, but for the most part, all of the main guys on this UNLV team are still going to play. I don't know if Ricky White's going to play, considering he's probably entering, I think he's a senior. Ricky White will be in the NFL draft, so I don't know if Ricky White's going to be playing this football game. Regardless of that, though, I think UNLV should be fine, obviously, with this go-go offense here. And Hodge Blake Williams has just been really impressive this season. Again, the former Campbell Camels starting quarterback last season transferred in. Again, Matthew Sluka was the guy. Sluka leaves the team, and yes, Hodge Malik Williams has been just as good, if not better. Definitely better than what Sluka was. Sluka, a very good runner of the football, not the best straight passer. You look at the Cal Golden Bears, right? It's a big loss. Fernando Mendoza being out really hurts this football team. I don't know if Chandler Rogers will be starting now. I guess he will. Rogers was the starting quarterback last year of North Texas. I don't know why he transferred into Cal for his senior season. He has not played. I don't know if he's going to just redshirt this year and then get another season. But actually, the redshirts are gone, so he could play this game, and then use that to go into the portal. I don't know if Chandler Rogers is going to be playing this football game or not, because he is the backup quarterback for Cal. If not Chandler Rogers, it will be CJ Harris, who is the sophomore out of West Bloomfield, Michigan, who has played very limited snaps, at least for Cal. This is a guy who was at Ohio, but he was Curtis Rourke's backup, so he decided, okay, I'm going to go be the backup now here at Cal. I guess he didn't think he was going to beat out Parker Navarro this year at Ohio, so here he is being the third-string quarterback at Cal. I guess it might be CJ Harris if Chandler Rogers is in play. It's just a mess, though, for Cal, right? You might be on your third-string quarterback. If not, you're going to be on Rogers, who's your backup. You're losing Hunter, who is your top receiver by far this season. It's just a mess for Cal. The only thing they've got going for them is that, they're still in the state of California. Guys, UNLV's coming from Las Vegas. I mean, I think it's about an equal distance. I mean, hell, I live in California. I should know this. But, okay, Cal's got, a 6-hour drive. And UNLV, I think that's a 5-hour drive to Los Angeles. So I think UNLV's the closer football team. Yeah, Cal's screwed, guys. Cal is screwed. UNLV's the better team. I know, again, you are hard-pressed sometimes to take Power 5 teams, or I guess Power 4 teams now against these group of fives like UNLV. But UNLV is one of the best group of 5 teams, right? Other than maybe, I don't know, actually just Boise. Honestly, when you think about it, UNLV is probably the second best group of 5 team in the country. I think they beat Cal fairly easily here. Guys, this is a Cal team, even with Fernando Mendoza, that lost to Syracuse at home. Again, we were big on Syracuse. That game was plus 220, 250 dogs. They got blown out in their last game in Dallas against SMU. This is a team that went to Florida State and lost. They lost at Pitt. They lost against NC State at home. This is not that good of a Cal Golden Bears team. Again, Mendoza went on his big, thing about how much this meant to the team that he was, that Cal is going to a bowl game. Maybe is he playing then? Are they going to let him play? Because actually it doesn't make sense if he went on that big ramble and he's not going to play the game. Is he just, he gave that big speech after they beat Stanford, how much it meant to this football team to go 6-6 and to be in a bowl game, but is he, no shot he's playing, right? Yeah, okay, the Mercury wrote an article saying Cal stunner, quarterback Fernando Mendoza enters transfer portal a week before LA Bowl. Yeah, he's not playing this football game. Yeah, he departed for the sake of my football future. Again, he will probably be an Indiana Hoosier next season, I think. I don't know, it kind of feels like that's the spot he's going to go to. I personally think Indiana can get better in the portal, but we'll see. If it's Mendoza, okay, that's fine, but I'd like to see Indiana get someone better. I don't know. Regardless, why isn't Mendoza playing? I mean, it was the viral interview he gave after they won the Axe against Stanford about how much it meant to this football team, all the long nights they spent watching film, that they get just another chance to play a football game at the end of the year. You're not going to play? It's weird. Give me UNLV. Give me the Rebels, just the better football team, guys. They just are. Even if Mendoza was playing, I'd still take UNLV too. I think this is great value. We get this at almost even odds for the Rebels all day long. Give me the UNLV Rebels to beat California in the Los Angeles Bowl. Okay, we go to New Orleans now for the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. We have got the Georgia Southern Eagles taking on the Sam Houston Bearcats. We like Georgia Southern in this football game. Sam Houston hasn't been bad this year. I'll give them that. Again, they've been a pretty solid team for Georgia Southern, right? JC French manning the helm, obviously, at quarterback for this team. He does it, I wouldn't say does it all for this squad, but he, again, really makes up majority of their offense. Sam Houston, again, a team that's in the CUSA, a lot better year that they had this season, obviously, than last year. I believe they finished at, 9-3, lost to Jack State at the end of the season, but picked up a huge win over Liberty in the last game of the year. And don't get me started on the Liberty Flames. I don't think they play until early January, so they're not on the docket for today. But man, that's a weird squad. And Caden Salter's not even on the team anymore, so I don't even know what's going to go on with the Liberty Flames. But you look at this game between Georgia Southern and Sam Houston, I do think Georgia Southern's just the better team. And you look at the transfer portal as well, which, again, unfortunately is a huge factor into this football game and all football games. Sam Houston lost a lot. I know, again, there's no real big-time names in this portal that's leaving for Sam Houston. They have a couple of their starters, I think. A couple of their guys went to North Texas already. I think 3 of their defensive guys. So they did lose a lot on defense. But I don't think it's the biggest losses that Sam Houston's at least dealing with on offense. Hunter Watson, I believe, is still here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, their backup quarterback. And Jace Bauer, I think, has hit the portal. But again, he's a backup quarterback. As long as their starter and Watson is playing, they should be fine. Jay Ducker, their starting running back, has hit the portal as well, though. I did not know that. So yeah, that's rough. That is rough for Sam Houston. For the Georgia Southern Eagles, right? This is a team that hasn't really been killed by the portal all that much. They actually landed a receiver from Auburn and Camden Brown to come play for their football team. But obviously that doesn't apply to this football game. But Georgia Southern's offense has been pretty good all year long. They're coming off 2 straight wins at the end of November, beating Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach. They beat App State after that by 9 points. Their losses, Troy, ODU, Ole Miss. Again, losing in Oxford to Ole Miss is not a bad loss at all, right? Losing to Old Dominion on the road, that sucks, but ODU showed some signs this season, and then Troy lost at home. I'll be honest, isn't great. But when you compare both these teams, I mean, everything kind of points to Georgia Southern winning this football game, if I'm being honest. Sam Houston lost a lot in the transfer portal already. They lose a lot of key guys on defense. They lose their starting running back. And that's really why the line reflects, -6 for Georgia Southern here in the New Orleans Bowl, just because, again, Georgia Southern hasn't really lost much. They look like the same team. And I'd say, again, at the end of the season, they're playing kind of better than Sam Houston. I mean, we kind of just have to realize, too, the CUSA was just really bad this year. And it's probably going to remain really bad considering how Western Kentucky is going to go to the Mid-American very soon. I don't know if that's next season or the year after that. But the CUSA is by far the worst conference in all of college football. And Sam Houston, again, lost to Jack State at the end of the year. Not a bad loss. Obviously, Jacksonville State ended up winning the conference. But even in their wins, right? Beating FIU 10-7. Beating La Tech 9-3. Beating Kennesaw State on the road in overtime 23-17. Sure, they beat Liberty, but Sam Houston has not been impressive down the stretch of this season. Georgia Southern's an offense that is going to score on you. J.C. French, again, will move the ball for this Georgia Southern team. And I would anticipate and expect Georgia Southern to win this game regardless of the transfers. But now on top of this, again, you add the element of Sam Houston's losing a bunch of their guys to the transfer portal. A lot of their guys are going to North Texas. I would assume Georgia Southern wins this football game. They do it fairly easily. -6 feels fine in this game. I do think Georgia Southern gets the job done and covers the spread as well. Now we move on to the Cure Bowl. We have got the Ohio Bobcats taking on the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. An actual really good game here. You get the winners of the Mid-American Conference and the Ohio Bobcats taking on the winners of the CUSA and Jacksonville State. And we literally, just had this discussion, obviously comparing the Sun Belt and the CUSA, but same thing kind of applies here with the MAC and the CUSA. The CUSA is not that good, guys. So Jacksonville State, again, good team, right? They were able to beat these squads in the CUSA of the season. But it's a team that lost non-conference-wise to Coastal Carolina. They lost at Louisville, whatever, but they lose at Eastern Michigan 2 by 3 points. All right, EMU was not the best MAC school this season by any stretch of the imagination. That's rough. Again, I believe Tyler Huff. I'm sure I would have heard if Tyler Huff has hit the portal yet. I will check real quick. Because obviously you have to check with every team now to see who's in the transfer portal or not. But I believe Tyler Huff's still playing this football game, right? Yes, I think so, right? I can check. Yeah, their backup quarterback in Tishon Smoot has hit the portal. But yeah, Tavares Dawson, if you remember him from Colorado, he's actually been on Jacksonville State this entire season. I know, right? I didn't know that, honestly. And he's transferring out. But obviously, if he couldn't get on the field at Jack State, where the hell is he going to play? I mean, maybe Marshall needs guys. I don't know. Maybe Marshall. Regardless. Jacksonville State versus Ohio. Some of Jacksonville State's guys have left. They lost their starting safety to Miami. Zachariah Poyser, I believe his name is. So they lose some of their defensive guys. Ohio has literally nobody in the transfer portal. Not a single guy from this Ohio Bobcats team is leaving this team as of right now. So this is the same Ohio team you have gotten all year long that is going to play this football game in the Cure Bowl against Jacksonville State. Again, it's a big football game. You get the winners of the MAC taking on the winners of the CUSA. Ohio, though, has been on a roll. They have not lost a game since October 19th, but they lost on the road in Oxford, Ohio, to Miami of Ohio. Since then, they blew out Buffalo. They blow out Kent State, obviously. They beat EMU, who actually beat Jacksonville State earlier this season. They go to the Glass Bowl and beat Toledo. They beat Ball State, and they blow out Miami of Ohio in their rematch in the MAC championship championship game in Detroit, 38-3. Parker Navarro has been absolutely phenomenal for Ohio this season. He does turn the ball over a little bit, but Parker Navarro does what Ohio needs to do to win them football games, and Anthony Tyus has been incredible, obviously running the football, and Parker Navarro is only 57 yards short of 1,000 this season. I'm not sold on Jacksonville State, nor am I with the entire Conference USA. Of course, I've been high on Western Kentucky all season long, and look what happened to them, obviously. I get it. Tyler Huff, again, is a good quarterback. He is a dual threat guy. They are going to run the football. They're going to try to run the football up and down the field against Ohio like they did in the CUSA championship game against Western Kentucky, right? You got Tyler Huff. You have Trey Stewart. I mean, Trey Stewart ran for 1,600 yards this season, and Tyler Huff has ran for 1,350 rushing yards this season. I mean, it's incredible, right? Both those guys have been, absolutely terrorizing defenses. I believe, is Cam Vaughn in the portal? I feel like I saw Cam Vaughn in the portal. Yes. So Jacksonville State's leading receiver and Cam Vaughn has hit the transfer portal, so he will not be playing this football game. Tavares Dawson obviously doesn't play, so that's not that big of a factor, but their leading receiver is out for this football game as well. On top of that, again, Jacksonville State loses some key defensive guys as well, and Ohio, despite the transfer portal, obviously, if we don't even look at the portal at all, actually, we don't even have to for Ohio because nobody on that team has hit the portal, but they've been playing great football down the stretch, and I would expect them to win this football game here against Jacksonville State. You're getting -3 on the line. I say absolutely hammer that. Ohio is playing this game at full strength, and Jacksonville State has lost some key pieces. On top of that, Ohio is playing their best football right now this season, right now. So give me Ohio to win the Cure Bowl here against Jacksonville State. They'll win it and cover the 3 points as well. Next up, we move on to the Gasparilla Bowl. We've got the Tulane Green Wave taking on Florida in Raymond James Stadium. It's a virtual home game for Florida. Let's just keep it real here. I get it again, Tulane in New Orleans. They're kind of right there, but at the same time, it's still kind of it is a little bit of a trip. And I know, again, Tulane a couple seasons ago beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Different circumstances, and Tulane didn't absolutely get, dismantled in the transfer portal that season like they are this year. Again, we mentioned it earlier, right? The former Western Kentucky, Texas State, Auburn quarterback in TJ Finley will be the starting quarterback likely for Tulane next season. Obviously, he's not playing this football game because Darian Mensah, well, not because of this, but also Darian Mensah, the reason why TJ Finley's coming into the program is Darian Mensah, their starting quarterback, is going to become a Duke Blue Devil next season. I don't mind the move, but he's gone, obviously. Their backup quarterback in Ty Thompson, I believe Thompson's their second string, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think Ty Thompson's second. Yes, Ty Thompson is the backup quarterback. He is already in the transfer portal as well, so they will be down to their third string quarterback in this football game, and that is Kai Horton, the junior. Wait, isn't Kai Horton in the portal? No, Kai Horton's in the portal as well. Oh my goodness. He played one snap all year long and he's in the portal. Who's starting? Legitimately, who is starting? They have all freshmen. I actually don't know who's starting at quarterback for Tulane in this football game. I kind of forgot Kai Horton was in the portal. It's Ty Thompson. Oh my goodness, this is bad. Wait, Ty Thompson, he's in the portal though. What? Why does it say, wait, is he playing? So he's gonna play despite being in the portal. Interesting. Okay. So according to Fox, Ty Thompson will get the start, even though he is in the transfer portal. Maybe he's staying now that Mensah is leaving and that Kai Horton's leaving as well. Maybe. So they are saying that their backup quarterback here in Ty Thompson will be playing the football game. That's great. Tulane's got other problems though. Their entire team is in the transfer portal. They're losing a bunch of defensive guys. They lose a couple O-linemen. I don't think Mekhi Hughes is in the portal. I would have seen that, right? Yeah, Mekhi Hughes is not in the transfer portal, but still, this Tulane team is getting dismantled with the transfer portal. And that, again, is the unfortunate part of the portal, that guys don't play their bowl games. So now we're going to see Tulane get absolutely smashed by Florida. Florida does have some guys in the portal as well. Again, they've got SEC talent, so a lot of these guys are leaving, but majority, actually, no, it's not majority, but some of these guys that are hitting the portal for Florida are backups, guys that aren't going to see the field all that much. The core pieces, though, for Florida are still going to be playing this football game, because the core pieces for Florida are sticking around for next season, and obviously we're talking about guys like Jaden Baugh, who I believe is a junior, right? Jaden Baugh's a junior. Oh, he's a freshman, my goodness. Like DJ Lagway, obviously, who is a freshman as well. I mean, these, again, are the future pieces for Florida. Elijah Badger is a senior, but I think he's playing this football game, if I'm not mistaken. Lagway's been great for Florida, obviously. Took over for Graham Mertz. Aiden Warner is the other. I believe he's a freshman, but, it's DJ Lagway's team, obviously. And Lagway is here for the future, and Lagway's going to be here for many years to come here at the Gators. So, obviously, again, Florida's building towards something here, and they're playing in this bowl game at home, basically. They're playing, again, in Florida. This is going to be an absolute smash spot for the Florida Gators. I don't care how they played it in the regular season, and they actually are coming off a 3-game winning streak, beating LSU, beating Ole Miss, and beating Florida State. But I don't care that they lost early in the season to teams like A&M. They lost to Miami. Actually, their losses are not that bad, my goodness. They're going to kill Tulane. Absolutely dismantle Tulane. Because you know what doesn't matter, guys? Tulane's season anymore, right? Losing to Army in the AAC championship game, losing to Memphis on Thanksgiving to give up home field advantage in the American championship game. Guys, that doesn't matter anymore. None of that, what happened in the regular season, Tulane's high-scoring offense, it doesn't matter. They lose half their team in this football game. They lose their leader as well. Florida's going to kill this football team. It's not even close. It's in Raymond James, right? It's not Jacksonville, it's in Tampa, right? Yeah, it's in Tampa. Give me the Florida Gators to absolutely dismantle Tulane. It's not a close football game. -14 is being generous. Florida by 20. Next up, we go to the Monday games. We go to the Myrtle Beach Bowl in Conway, South Carolina. Of course, it is a home game for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers as they will welcome the UTSA Roadrunners for this football game. I still do like the Roadrunners to win. They are the better football team, but we are taking Coastal to cover the spread. I think they should be able to cover the spread here against UTSA. You look at what Coastal's done this season, right? This is a team that went 6-6 this year. They started the year 3-0. They beat Jack State, which was a huge victory for them, but they kind of just fell off a cliff as the season progressed, obviously, right? Losing to James Madison 39-7, losing to Louisiana by 10 points, losing to Troy by 14, beating App State, but then losing to Marshall, losing to Georgia Southern, and then winning their final game against Georgia State to become bowl eligible. That's great. And again, good for them. They do get a virtual home game. I mean, it is a home game. This is literally where they play against UTSA. You look at the transfer portal, because obviously, again, we got to take a look at it. Tulane's losing a lot of guys. Coastal is losing a lot of guys similar to Tulane. I would say actually Coastal's losing more players than Tulane. My goodness, you just keep scrolling on the transfer portal and it is more and more players. Coastal Carolina is without their 2 quarterbacks for this football game. You obviously know Ethan Vasco, and you might know the former Michigan State Spartan in Noah Kim. He started some games last season for Michigan State. He was the backup this year. Both of those guys are already in the transfer portal. So who the hell is starting at quarterback this game for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers? I don't know. They've got all freshmen. Okay, so I've looked, and it is Tad Hudson who is the starting quarterback for the Myrtle Beach Bowl for Coastal Carolina. He has never played a snap of collegiate football. He is a redshirt freshman for Coastal, and he's getting the start. Oh, goodness. I am still taking Coastal to cover, despite the transfer portal, just because the game's at home. I don't think they lose the game by more than 1 score. I do think UTSA wins the football game, but -9, that just feels like a lot, especially because, again, Coastal literally has to go nowhere for this football game. It is in their backyard. It is in Conway. It is at Myrtle Beach. UTSA has to go to Coastal to play this football game. But yes, the Roadrunners are the better team. They were both 6-6 this season, Coastal and UTSA, but UTSA was playing much better football down the stretch. They were on the verge of really going 8-4, right? They lose a game by 2 points on the road to Rice. They beat FAU by 14. They lose on the road to Tulsa by 1 point, but they beat Memphis by 8. They beat North Texas 48-27. They beat Temple 51-27, and they just ran into Army at the end of the season and lost at West Point by 5 points. As we look at the transfer portal for UTSA, they do lose some guys, but not nearly as many as what the Chanticleers are dealing with. You look at the Roadrunners again. Owen McCown has been really good for this team at quarterback all season long. Robert Henry at the running back position. UTSA has been really good this season, man. This is a high-scoring offense that, yes, gives up a lot of points on defense, which is why, again, I do anticipate Coastal to cover the spread. But as a whole, yeah, I feel pretty good about UTSA winning the football game. They have the better offense. They should be able to outscore Coastal, but at the same time, again, the Roadrunners defense will keep Coastal Carolina in this football game, meaning why, again, I am taking Coastal to cover the 9 points. But as a whole, yes, we are taking the UTSA Roadrunners to win the Myrtle Beach Bowl against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Let's go on to our final game of the video, and yes, we're not going to be doing next Tuesday's game between South Florida and San Jose State on Christmas Eve in the Hawaii Bowl, because we'll just post that video next Tuesday before that game so you can get your picks in. We've got NIU taking on Fresno State. So yes, we mentioned the Northern Illinois Huskies. Yes, Huskies. At the beginning of the video, obviously, because they beat Notre Dame this season, just like how Indiana is going to beat Notre Dame in the playoffs this year. But you get the Mac's own NIU. This is a team that is losing a lot in the transfer portal. At the same time, Fresno State is losing a lot in the transfer portal as well. So this is just a backup game. I'm serious. This is the backup bowl. Here, what bowl game is this? The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, obviously, in good old Boise, Idaho. There's a lot of backups playing in this game, guys. There just is. For starters, right, no Mikey Keene. He's moving on from Fresno State. He's already in the portal. One of their best receivers, no, not Mac Delana. I believe Delana's a senior, if I'm not mistaken, right? But anyways, one of their best receivers in Jalen Moss is not playing this football game. Malik Sherrod is not playing this football game either for Fresno State. He is their starting running back. Fresno State loses all of their depth at receiver too. Mac Delana is a senior, so I'm assuming Delana's playing this football game. But regardless, it's going to be a backup quarterback for Fresno State this game. I believe that's going to be Joshua Wood. I think he has to be the next guy up. He is their sophomore backup. I did not see Wood in the portal, I don't think. Because why would he leave? He is literally going to be the next guy. I feel like that's kind of why Keene is leaving for his senior year, because they kind of want to push him out to get Joshua Wood involved. But yeah, Fresno State loses a lot in the portal. At the same time, Northern Illinois loses a lot as well. They lose their starting quarterback, Ethan Hampton. They lose one of their best defensive linemen, Skylar Gill-Howard, to Texas Tech. They are losing a lot in this transfer portal. But again, the biggest loss for them is their quarterback in Ethan Hampton. I get it. Again, Hampton is not the biggest game changer, but still, him not being on the field is a big deal. They lose one of their best corners to the Indiana Hoosiers. Both these teams got absolutely killed in the transfer portal. And the thing about Northern Illinois has been all season long, this team has not really impressed me. They can't really throw the ball that much. And I get, again, yeah, Ethan Hampton not being there doesn't really matter too much, again, when you think about it. Okay, they don't really throw the ball, but still, just not having your quarterback is just different, right? I believe it would be Josh Holst, who will be the starting quarterback this week for NIU against Fresno State up in Idaho. But Northern Illinois as a whole, even with Ethan Hampton, hasn't impressed me. They run the ball a lot, sure, but they're just not that great of a squad. They play low defensive games where they, low scoring defensive games where they barely, edge out victories. Their win over Central Michigan was a 24-16 victory. They lose to Miami of Ohio before that, 20-9. I don't know. NIU doesn't impress me that much. And for Fresno State, again, we are going to see what Joshua Wood has got. I think, again, he is the future of Fresno State football. Obviously, he is expected to be the starter next season. Malik Sherrod. Elijah Gillum took over this season. I'm tripping. Sherrod is their second running back, but Elijah Gillum did have a better season this year. Sherrod, I believe, got benched halfway through the year. I kind of forgot about that, I'll be honest. I don't think Elijah Gillard is in the portal. Okay, so that's fine. Again, they just really lose Mikey Keene. They do lose some defensive guys as well, but honestly, I think NIU got hit worse in the portal. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, Fresno State still got Mac Delana playing this football game. Joshua Wood does have some sets where he comes in, like, even when Keene was playing, obviously, Joshua Wood would have his sets where he'd come in. They, usually have him run the football. They did randomly put him in the UNLV game, and he threw a 50-yard bomb that got intercepted. It was a really questionable decision, threw it right into double coverage. But this is the first game, again, Joshua Wood is ever getting to start. And obviously, again, Fresno State is somewhat high on him. It's the same thing that, not to the same extent because Oregon State did this a lot last season, but it's the same thing that Oregon State last year did with DJ Uyunglele and Aiden Childs. By the way, Uyunglele entering the NFL draft. What are we doing? The military draft or the USFL draft? No, the NFL draft. He has decided to enter the NFL draft. Like, I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And I have decided to date Madison beer. Like, what are we doing? Regardless, Joshua Wood does get his spots for Fresno State. Again, it's like what Oregon State did with Childs and Uyunglele last season. They had special sets for Childs to come in, and obviously, again, both those guys leave, right? Childs, goes to East Lansing, obviously follows Owens over there, and then, DJU went to FSU. But regardless, and Thomas Castellanos, I think, is going to fail at Florida State next season. I think it's a horrible move. So we'll see. I think, again, Fresno State's obviously somewhat high on Joshua Wood. We're going to see a full game of him here, and I do think Fresno State's able to beat Northern Illinois, a Northern Illinois team that hasn't impressed me all season long. So in this game, again, we get Fresno State at +3. They are underdogs in this one. I really like him here, guys. I think Fresno State, again, before the transfers, the better team, and even with the transfers, I think Fresno State is still the better team as well. So we really like the Fresno State Bulldogs in this football game. +3, +150, take them. Give me the Bulldogs to go to Idaho, to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and beat the Northern Illinois Huskies. So folks, that'll do it for our college football playoffs round 1 predictions, along with all the bowl games this week as well. We'll be back on Christmas Eve for the second round of the college football playoffs and the remaining bowl games for that week as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.